Delighted to kick off our conversation on this with one of Benjamin Netanyahu's predecessors as Israeli Prime Minister. Ehud Olmert was Prime Minister of that country between 2006 and 2009 and led the country during its 22-day war with Gaza. Mr. Olmert, good to have you back on LBC. Thank you very much indeed for coming on tonight. What's your take on this 20-point plan that has been published by the Trump White House tonight?
Well, if the war will end immediately and the hostages will be returned, that's a very good opening. And this is something that needs to be seen because we still wait for the Hamas response. The broader perspectives, comprehensive peace, and the historic achievements needs to be pursued. And I think it's a high expectation. I'm not certain that we are still ready to move that much. But if the war will end as we all expected and wanted and demanded for a long time, and the hostages will be back, there is a beginning, which I think is a great news for the Israeli soldiers, for the hostages, and for thousands of Palestinians that otherwise might be victims of a continued military operation.
How significant is it, Mr. Olmert, that Benjamin Netanyahu has already agreed to this proposal?
I'm very happy that he agreed to this proposal. Of course, there are many that ask today why he didn't agree to this 2 years ago. Actually, it was on the table a long time ago. I mean, not with all the details and with all the other aspects that President Trump presented, but the basis was on the table a long time ago. But we are very happy that he agreed now. There were huge differences between the presentation of the president and the interpretation that were given afterwards by Netanyahu. There is a huge gap, and I hope that this will not be a source of obstacles and disagreements in the implementation process. The most important thing is the implementation. And the personal involvement of the president is quite unusual. I mean, historically, I don't remember ever an American president being involved under certain circumstances to that degree. But maybe it's a good basis to make sure that there will not be departures from both sides.
Just on that, I mean, is Donald Trump going to be able to play the role of the sort of the neutral, impartial arbitrator here, given it's only, 2 or 3 months ago that he was putting forward proposals to rid Gaza of the Palestinians and build the sort of the Gazan Riviera, as he was calling it? You would understand why Palestinians and some of the others who will have to agree to this, Mr. Olmert, might be suspicious of Donald Trump's motives in this.
Well, how do you want to judge President Trump on what he said a while ago, what he said 2 years ago, what he said 4 years ago, or what he is committing himself to do now? I prefer not to judge him by what he said in the past. Of course, what he said today was entirely different. He said Gaza will be the place of the Palestinians.
Yes.
They will live there. They will not be deported. And we need to make sure that they will have the best possible conditions to live a quality life and a secured life for themselves. So this is opposite of everything that was said in the past. But this is the position that I prefer.
But that's my point, really.
He will stick to it. I hope that he will stick to it.
That's kind of my issue, my concern, I suppose, is given how different it is to his past statements, can he be trusted to play the role of overseeing the rebuilding of Gaza? Given he suggested not long ago that he saw it as a prime piece of real estate for America to basically annex.
Well, I'll tell you something, and you'll not be surprised. I hope that he can be trusted. I very much hope that my prime minister can be trusted. I'm not certain about both, but I prefer to trust President Trump, and I hope that we can rely on the power of persuasion that he possesses on Netanyahu, which I think was the key to the disagreement in the first place. Yep. Had he not been leaning on Netanyahu, I'm not certain that Netanyahu would have agreed even to what has been presented by Trump, which is less comfortable to Netanyahu than what Netanyahu himself presented in his statement following the president. So let's hope that what the president said will be accomplished and as soon as possible. And it now certainly depends on Hamas. And I hope that Hamas will say yes, which will bring an end to the suffering of Israelis and Palestinians.
I want to ask you about that specifically in just a moment, Mr. Olmert. Just speaking of one other sort of figure in all of this first, Tony Blair is going to have, it seems, a pretty pivotal role to play in this process if it goes ahead as well. Again, somebody who is, to put it mildly, shall we say, divides opinion in parts of the Middle East. Are you pleased to see his involvement in this peace process?
Look, I know Tony very well. I'm friendly with him. I have enormous respect for him and his achievements while he was Prime Minister of Great Britain, one of the most historic conflicts that you had to deal with in Ireland. He always showed a great interest and great involvement in the events in the Middle East. At the time that I was Prime Minister, I dealt with him quite a lot. So, yeah, he may be very useful and very helpful. And the fact that he presented a plan similar, by the way, to what the president presented now, just a few days ago, to end the war. So, yes, as an international figure, that is not entirely rejected by the other side and is accepted by the Americans and the Israelis, yes, he can be helpful, and I'm happy that he is there.
In terms of, we'll talk about whether Hamas is going to accept this, but it also needs to be approved, does it not, by the Israeli war cabinet, certain members of which have been implacably opposed up until now to any end to this war whatsoever. What are the chances that Prime Minister Netanyahu will be able to actually get approval for this proposal, Mr. Olmert, from his own cabinet?
Well, he probably will have an approval from his cabinet, but I'm not certain that all the members of the cabinet will remain members of the cabinet afterwards.
Right.
I think that some of these messianic groups, if there is one major achievement other than bringing back the hostages and ending the war, it's the option, hopefully, that the messianic groups that are now part of the cabinet will withdraw and will get rid of them, which is at the best interest of the security and the well-being and the quality of life in the state of Israel.
Just finally then, just to taking in everything we've just discussed, we have been here before. There have been peace proposals that were agreed to by one side but not the other and so on. There were false dawns, there were false hopes. How hopeful are you tonight that this might be the plan that finally brings peace, at least in the short term, to the people of your country and of Gaza?
Look, peace is a loaded word, which I think is far bigger than the present proposal and the events which will take place. So let's not build up expectations which are beyond the reality. What I think can be done is to end the war, at least for a time being, and to bring back all the hostages. And then hopefully there will be an effort, concerted effort and joint effort by America and the moderate Arab countries, which I'm I trust very much, Egypt particularly, and Jordan, yes, and the Emirates and the Saudis, to start a process that will build up a security force that will take over from Israel in Gaza and will allow Israel to completely pull out from Gaza, because Gaza is Palestinian and it has to be governed by Arabs and Palestinians. And
you've got, just finally, you've got genuine hope, Mr. Olmert, that this might be the proposal to kickstart that process?
To start the process of ending the war in Gaza. All the rest is a long shot. I hope that he will come through, but let's start with the beginning. Let's have the hostages back and the whole war end and the lives of people saved.
Well, let's hope you're right. So really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on and talking to us tonight. Ehud Olmert is former Prime Minister of Israel between 2006 2009, who led his country during its 22-day war with Gaza between 2008 and 2009.